Welcome to part 4 of our Interrailing journey through the Netherlands and Germany. In today's video, we're taking you along on our visit to Hamburg, and what an amazing trip it was. There's so much to show you. So we travelled to Hamburg from Bremen using our Interrailing passes, and it was a direct train, so no changes needed, and it only took about an hour and 10 minutes. And we'd planned everything in advance using the Rail Planner app, so all we had to do was scan the QR code for the day. It was really simple and it was a really easy journey. We arrived in Hamburg just before 11 AM and we walked straight to our hotel to drop off our luggage. We were staying at a place called Superbude. There are actually two Superbudes in Hamburg. I think the other one is in the St. Pauli area. And we arrived early actually. Check-in wasn't until 3 PM, but we knew that we could store our luggage. However, when we went to reception, they said that our room was already ready, so we could check in early. This was definitely going to be very different accommodation from where we'd stayed in Bremen, where we stayed in the smallest house in Germany. If you missed that video, I will pop a link in the description so that you can have a little look. So here, the room's centred around this courtyard. So we headed into reception and we had a really warm welcome, and there was a lovely comfy seating space and a drink station where you could help yourself and pay at reception. And to the right was a shared kitchen and breakfast area. We didn't actually have breakfast here, but it looked like there were loads of options. And you could also use the kitchen to cook your own food, which would be great if you were staying for a little bit longer. We were going to be staying here for 2 nights, so we decided to experience some of the places to eat in Hamburg instead. But if we stayed here again, it might be that we would use the little kitchen to make our own food. Down the corridor was a little cinema room where you could pop on a DVD, and there were loads of board games too. I forgot to film it, but there was even a room with table tennis in it. There was also a little laundry area, which was perfect if you're travelling for a while. Our room was up a few flights of stairs, so we took the lift. There was even a little sound pad to play with whilst we waited, and it made fun noises, including, I think, the bell sound that you hear when the U-Bahn trains stop. It's a small detail, but it was really fun. This was our room. Not only was it ready early, but we'd also been upgraded for free. Thanks, Superbude! This video isn't sponsored, by the way. After a bit of a rest, we headed out for lunch. We found an amazing creative building filled with artist studios, and tucked at the back was a small vegetarian cafe. We sat outside in the little courtyard, surrounded by trees. It was just lovely. I had a veggie moussaka, and I actually think it might have been the best veggie moussaka that I've ever had. Before we left, we wandered around the studios, which were spread over a few floors, and we saw so many different crafts, from hat makers and sculptors to jewellers and potters. It was such an inspiring space. Afterwards, we wandered further into the city centre. There was this lovely area where there's lots of water and then lots of seating at the end. We grabbed an ice cream and sat by the water before heading back to Superbude to get ready for the evening. We bought U-Bahn day passes, and as we were doing at least 3 journeys, the day pass worked out the best value for us. So earlier in the day, we'd actually made a really spontaneous decision about what to do that evening, and we're so glad that we did. We found out that Gregory Porter was performing at the Elbphilharmonie concert hall that night, and after a bit of research, we realised it was actually part of a bigger event featuring several musicians, and I'll pop some information about the event in the description below. It ended up being such a memorable experience. So we'd taken the U-Bahn to the concert hall, and we'd grabbed a quick bite to eat beforehand. Actually had some pastries and overnight oats from a cafe across the road, which looks as if we're having breakfast, but actually it was a nice little evening snack before the performance. Because it was such a sudden decision to go to this concert, we hadn't done any research about the venue beforehand, so walking into the Elbphilharmonie was honestly breathtaking. You enter via what I've read is Europe's longest curved escalator, and it's a 2-minute slow ride through a glowing white tunnel covered in shimmering tiles. Unfortunately, I didn't film much because I was just enjoying the experience so much, so I didn't really want my camera out all the time. At the top, there was a huge window with a panoramic view of the city, and the sun was low in the sky, and it was one of those really picture-perfect moments. The architecture in the building was just absolutely stunning. We continued up another escalator and then took some stairs and a lift, and eventually we made it to our seats. So when we found our seats, I hadn't expected to feel quite so nervous looking down from such a height, but once the music started, all of my nerves just went away. It was incredible. This clip is from before the show. Obviously I put my camera away to enjoy the performance, but the venue is just, I've never been in a venue like it. So if you do ever go to Hamburg, I really do recommend visiting. It was an incredible evening, and it's one I'll never forget. And afterwards we stepped onto the viewing platform again to see Hamburg all lit up at night, and it was the perfect end to a really magical day. The next morning, we had plans to explore another area of the city, and we'd bought another U-Bahn day pass. So the U-Bahn is the underground network, but this time we'd used an app to buy the ticket. I'll pop the name of the app in the description below just in case you're planning on travelling around Hamburg too. So we were travelling to the Karolinenviertel area. I do hope that I'm pronouncing all of the place names correctly. I do apologise if I pronounce anything incorrectly, and please do let me know in the comments if I do say anything incorrectly. So we travelled to the Karolinenviertel area, but we weren't sure if we'd picked the right stop, because when we got off the train, we were in an area that we didn't recognise as being the area that we thought we were going to. We did find some signposts though to the area that we were looking for, so we followed them, and after a little walk we found, we think, where we were looking for. So we were walking through this area, but unfortunately it appeared that quite a lot of the places were still closed, even though it was midday. But we still really enjoyed walking down the tree-lined streets and having a look through the windows, even though I think maybe we needed to go a little bit later on to get the full experience. Next, we made our way to the Pauli area and stopped for lunch. And we had soup and a toastie and a really lovely hot chocolate. Next, it was time to go to somewhere that was going to be a little adventure, and it was the Elbtunnel. So I did a little bit of research and found out that the tunnel is 426 metres long, and it was built in 1911 to provide a direct route for people working on the docks. So we decided to go and visit it and walk through the tunnel to the other side. So you enter through this building and you could take the stairs or get a lift down, and we took the lift. It was fascinating to see all of the mechanisms for the lift. So the tunnel runs under the river and you can walk or cycle through it, and it's free to enter, and I'd highly recommend visiting. When we reached the other side, we came up to a viewing platform where we could see the Elbphilharmonie that we'd visited the night before, and we could see a few cormorants who were enjoying the sunshine too. For those of you who follow this channel for my 12 scale miniatures, I've actually already made a miniature version of the Elbphilharmonie as a painting. Please do let me know in the comments if you'd like to see a video of it. I did film as I was painting it, but because I was at my art class, I might not have got all of the footage for a full video, but if you would like to see it, please do let me know. Later that afternoon, we had tickets for a stadium tour of the Millerntor-Stadion, which is home to FC St Pauli. So we headed back through the tunnel and took the U-Bahn again to head to the St Pauli area. It started to rain, so we popped into a cafe for a little bit of cake and a coffee. And we had lemon and poppy seed cake, and it was so good. Before the stadium tour, we went to visit the Second World War bunker that we'd seen earlier. It was free to enter, and it's now a multi-use space. We had a look around the area where there were boards with information about the history of the bunker. We learnt a lot of information whilst we were there. Our next stop was the Millerntor-Stadion for our guided tour. We started at the stadium's museum, and we had an amazing guide who shared all about the club's values and history, and we visited the changing rooms. We visited the tunnel, or the corridor that leads to the tunnel, and we even sat in the dugouts. It included a museum ticket, but unfortunately it closed just after our tour ended. The museum ticket is valid for a year though, so if we'd have had time the next day, we would have popped back and visited. The tour was about 2 hours long, so it finished at about 7:15, so we then took the U-Bahn back to our accommodation, ready to prepare for the next day. The next morning, at 8 AM, we had tickets booked for the Miniatur Wunderland. According to the Guinness World Records at the time of recording this, the Miniatur Wunderland has the largest model railway system in the world. The sunrise at this time was spectacular. So Miniatur Wunderland was incredible. We passed by the workshops where the models, I am assuming, are made. They were empty this early on, but I imagine they'd be busy later in the day. And Miniatur Wunderland is basically 2 floors of miniature cities, and there is so much to look at. So the exhibition spans 2 floors that are filled with cities from all over the world, and they have over 1,000 trains, all programmed to move around the tracks through the cities. And there were buttons to press, moving parts, and day to night lighting effects. One of my favourite parts was the airport, which I'll show you a little bit later on, and the level of detail was just amazing. There were loads of fun surprises too. We spotted Super Mario, we saw Superman flying through the cliffs, we even spotted Pinocchio, and he actually moved when you pressed a button. I think I've got a clip of him somewhere, so he should be in this video. Please leave a comment if you notice what time he appears at. And as you're watching this, please let me know in the comments what you spot, because I'm noticing new things just watching the footage back. I filmed quite a lot of footage, so I will just let it run now so that you can watch and see what you notice, but if you'd rather skip ahead to the next part of the video, I've popped the chapters into the description. Please leave a comment if you spot any famous landmarks or any places that you've visited before, and I don't think Pinocchio's featured in the video yet, so he's still coming up. Let me know if you spot the little rubber duck. And we finished our tour of Miniatur Wunderland in their cafe, where we had veggie, currywurst and sauerkraut. Next we decided to have a look through the shops in the city centre, and we found a shopping centre, and then we took a U-Bahn train back to the area where we'd had an ice cream on the first day. There were lots of shops to explore. We didn't actually go in any, but we walked past them all and I enjoyed looking at all of the architecture. As we were walking past all of the shops, we found this church. Now, you could go inside this church in a lift right to the top. This isn't something that we did on this occasion, but I think it probably is something that we would put on our list of things to do if we return to Hamburg. In the evening we travelled to see Hamburg's town hall, and afterwards we found somewhere for tea. A lovely place serving bowls of really delicious food. And we ended the evening with a peaceful walk before heading back to Superbude for our final night in Hamburg. The next morning, it was time to pack our bags and head to our next destination, which was Berlin. I'll upload that footage in an upcoming video, so please don't forget to subscribe and turn notifications to all so that you don't miss it. In the meantime, I'll also be making a miniature autumn wreath for my doll's house, so there'll be a mix of travel and creative videos coming up. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope that you've enjoyed the video. Please do leave a comment because I love reading them all and I always try to reply. And I'll hopefully see you in the next video. See you next time. Bye!